provide
Yeah.
that for us?
Yep.
I'll work on that too.
Yeah.
then. Yeah, I turned something into her already. I don't know.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So,
You ready?
so can she forward
Ready?
that to the state? I have to do it, so I'll take care of it then.
Okay. So ready? Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the January 17th, 2023 Todd County Board of Commissioners meeting. Roll call would be Commissioners Becker, Noska, and Newman are present. Absent is Commissioner Denny and Commissioner Erickson. Also joining us today is the County Auditor Treasurer, the County Coordinator, County Attorney. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Once again, good morning. This is going to be a little different for us. There's only 3 of us here today, so is there any amendments to the agenda?
I have none, Mr. Chair.
Okay, if none, I'd entertain a motion, please.
I'll move.
Motion by Noska, is there a second?
Second?
Second by Becker. Discussion. If none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Potential consent items today would be the meeting minute approval for January 3rd, 2023, a 3.2 malt liquor license, Swanville Sobieski Lions, a gambling permit for Eagle Bend Area Community Development Corp., CBRD Auxiliary, appoint Deputy Auditor Treasurer Kayla Doble-Marty, start date 1/30/23, resignation of Sergeant Lonnie Marcy's 2/2/23, resignation Behavioral Health Supervisor Richard Matler 2/9/23, and resignation of Human Resource Manager Sarah Ogren.
Okay, you've heard the request. Is there a motion, please?
So move.
Motion by Becker. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Noska. Discussion.
On Sarah's, I think there's a date missing there, but I think it was on the other one. What is it? Is it March?
Yep, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Becker, the date that is on the board action form itself is March 1st. Sarah has agreed that if there are some difficulties with recruiting, she would be able to stay on a little bit longer.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Auditor Treasurer.
The first item I have then is to approve the Commissioner warrants. Background is sent for your review. The recommendation is to approve the Commissioner warrants with an ACH and a manual payment totaling the amount of $170,652.17. Sorry.
Okay, you've heard the request. Is there a motion, please?
I'll motion.
Motion by Noska. Is there a second?
Second?
Second by Becker. Discussion. If none, roll call vote.
Commissioner Noska,
Yes.
Commissioner Becker,
Yes.
Commissioner Newman.
Yes.
The next item I have then is the Health and Human Service Commissioner warrants. Again, background is sent for your review. The recommendation is to approve the Health and Human Service Commissioner warrants with an ACH and a manual payment totaling in the amount of $102,861.22.
Okay, you've heard the request. Is there a motion, please?
So move.
Motion by Becker. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Noska. Discussion. If none, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Becker,
Yes.
Commissioner Noska,
Yes.
Commissioner Newman.
Yes.
Next item I have is the Health and Human Service SSIS warrants. Background is sent for your review. Recommendation to approve the Health and Human Service SSIS warrants with an ACH and a manual payment totaling in the amount of $109,569.43.
Okay, you've heard the request. Is there a motion, please?
A motion.
Motion by Noska. Is there a second?
Second?
Second by Becker. Discussion. If none, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Noska,
Yes.
Commissioner Becker,
Yes.
Commissioner Newman.
Yes.
Next item I have then is the Restrict Fund Balance for Clean Water Partnership Loan Program. The background is, on April 21st, 2020, the County Board approved the Clean Water Partnership Loan Program with MPCA. And the board action is listed there. The loan application fees, principal, and interest are collected and held in the general fund account. On January 18th, 2022, the county board established a restricted fund balance for the CWP loan program for fiscal year ending in 2021. Per audit standards, the restricted balance should be updated annually. The fiscal year end 2022 balance is $30,933.19. These funds are to be collected and held to supply for the loan repayment to MPCA. Your options are to adopt the attached resolution or do not adopt the attached resolution. It is a recommendation to adopt the attached resolution to restrict the fund balance for Clean Water Partnership CWP loan program. It is a budgeted item, and again, the fiscal responsibility or implications are $30,933.19.
Okay, you've heard the request. Is there a motion?
I'll motion.
Motion by Noska. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Becker. Discussion.
Does someone have a little bit more of an explanation of this? Is this soil and water funds, or is this county funds?
It's,
Yeah.
planning and zoning.
Good morning. This is our low-interest loan program for septics, the
Okay.
1.5% interest. So these are the funds that we've collected that we'll start repayment on, I believe, next year. And
Okay.
we're actually looking at potentially doing the same program over for another 3 or 4 year period because we've spent it exactly how we planned. And we're going to actually run out of money by the end of next year. It's been well utilized, so we're trying to roll this over for another period of time. So,
Thank you.
yep, thank you.
Any further discussion? If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
The next item then would be the restricted fund balance for planning and zoning grant programs. Background is the planning and zoning grant revenues arrive prior to the year of a planned activity. State auditor's recommendation is to approve a resolution, a restricted fund balance on annual basis for transparent financial reporting. The balance of these grants as of 12/31/2022 is $82,832. Your options are to adopt the attached resolution or do not, and the recommendation is to adopt the attached resolution to restrict the fund balance for planning and zoning's grant programs. Again, budgeted item, and the amount financial implications, $82,832.
Okay, you've heard the request. Is there a motion, please?
So move.
Motion by Becker. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Noska. Discussion? If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
The next item would be the Todd County Development Corporation 2023 allocation. Background is in the 2023 budget for the support of the Todd County Development Corporation has been approved at $83,000, and a letter of request has been received to transfer the funds. Options are to approve the transfer of funds or do not approve, and it is the recommendation to approve the attached resolution to transfer the funds from the general fund to the Todd County Development Corp Fund. It's a budgeted item at $83,000.
Okay, you've heard the request. Is there a motion?
I'll motion.
Motion by Noska. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Becker. Discussion? If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
The last item I have then today is the Todd Wadena Community Corrections 2023 allocation. Background is the 2023 Todd County budget for the support of Todd Wadena Community Corrections has been approved at $615,133, and a letter of request has been received to transfer the allocated funds. Your options are to approve the transfer or do not approve the transfer. It is the recommendation to approve the attached resolution for the transfer of funds from the general fund to Todd Wadena Community Corrections for the 2023 allocation. Again, a budgeted item.
Okay, you've heard the request. Is there a motion, please?
So move.
Motion by Becker. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Noska. Discussion? If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you. County Sheriff. Morning.
Good morning.
First board action form is a resubmitting of board action form from 12/27/22 for part-time correctional officer Tracy Becker. The correction is incorrect on the first form. Is the starting pay from grade 6, step 1, and now to grade 6, step 2. Options are to approve the correction or not to approve. The recommendations is to approve the correction to move part-time correctional officer Tracy Becker from a starting wage to grade 6, step 2.
Okay. You've heard the request. Is there a motion, please?
A motion.
Motion by Noska. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Becker. Discussion?
Yes, has this gone through Sarah and so forth? I mean, are we in line with what we're doing right here?
We are
Okay.
in line, and this is correct. That first one that was submitted was incorrect.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion? If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Second board action form, I'm going to hand over to Dispatch Supervisor Boker.
Right, so this is just an update to our Central Region NG911 committee appointments. Previously, Sheriff Ock was listed as the alternate, and so there is a need to replace him. So we would like to update our appointments to the committee. I will remain the delegate. Sheriff Mike Gallen and Chief Deputy John Barber will be added as alternates. So your options are to approve those 3 appointments. To not approve, the recommendation would be to approve those appointments to the Central NG911 committee.
All right. You've heard the request. Is there a motion, please?
So move.
Motion by Becker. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Noska. Discussion. If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you. Last board action form would be that I would like to carry over the balance of the Todd County Contingency Fund and forfeiture funds from 2022 to 2023 for the amount of $39,283.11. The options are to approve the carryover funds or do not approve the carryover funds, and our recommendation is to approve the funds for that amount.
All right. You've heard the request. Is there a motion, please?
A motion.
Motion by Noska. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Becker. Discussion. If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Planning and zoning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. My first item this morning is the Crow Wing River Memorandum of Agreement and establishment of policy committee members. Todd County, along with other planning partners, has received grant funding for the development of a comprehensive watershed management plan through the One Watershed, One Plan for the Crow Wing River watershed. In order to begin this planning process, Todd County must enter in a memorandum of agreement with our planning partners. The MOA has been reviewed by Attorney John Lindeman on January 10th. Additionally, the planning process requires establishment of policy committee members to represent this board at policy committee meetings. There should be a motion to approve the MOA and assign policy committee members, or deny the MOA or table this to allow additional time for review. The recommendation would be to approve the memorandum of agreement for the Crow Wing River Comprehensive Watershed Management Plan, and I had blank spots for the policy committee member and alternate. And I wasn't expecting only 3 commissioners to be here today for the discussion. So we can proceed as you see fit from there. If it is something that requires the other members to be here, I think we can just approve the MOA today, and I can bring it back to assign
For the appointees.
appoint members at that time, because I don't think we'll have any policy committee meetings coming up real immediate.
What do you think?
I think we should probably wait to assign until
Okay.
everyone's
I
here.
was gonna say the same thing, because I would like to see someone else besides myself take this one, so I think either one of the ones that could be absent could be.
And I don't know how you guys feel about me taking it as my other position. if it was Crow.
Well, and that's, I was curious,
Because
because
that's why you didn't want me on the other
Morrison
2.
County,
This is Morrison County.
There
isn't it?
should be a
Morrison
map.
County is not listed on this one.
There is a map. We can see the watershed boundary. It's gonna be almost to the bottom of this, is maybe the last page of this agreement, so you're getting close now. We'll get there. Yeah, there is. It's one of the larger watersheds, so it's gonna be a pretty dynamic, let's see here.
Go away. Oh, just a little bit of Morrison.
Yeah, and I don't know Morrison, it does have a small portion of Morrison,
Not have a lot invested into it, though.
Right.
They may not have much assigned to it.
and it may be small enough that it's under the required participation, and they may be choosing just to not be part of the policy committee, which is maybe something we can look into between now and that next meeting also. So I would, if you guys are comfortable with just approving the MOA today, we can bring this back and assign committee members at a future meeting.
Can you scroll down that map a little further? How much of Todd is in that crew? Not a lot, huh?
Not a ton, but it's above the required percentage of our county, so we have mandatory participation.
Right.
Yeah, I would make a motion to approve the MOA
Okay,
and then table putting the board
Policy
members
members.
on, yes,
okay, so,
until our next meeting.
so we have a motion by Becker to approve the MOA and table the policy committee members until the next meeting.
Yes.
Okay,
I'll second.
and second by Nazca. Any further discussion? If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oppose? Carried. Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, next, Holst Acres First Edition Preliminary Plat. Subdivision request to establish a two-lot preliminary plat on parcels 25,000,3500 and 25,000,60900. This in Villar Township was submitted on December 5th. The application was reviewed by the Planning Commission during the January 5th meeting, and the final recommendation from the Planning Commission was to approve the preliminary plat with the one condition that the applicants must abide by all their applicable federal, state, and local standards. The option would be to approve this preliminary plat with the proposed condition, deny the preliminary plat, or remand it back to the Planning Commission. The recommendation would be to adopt the findings of the Planning Commission and approve the preliminary plat with the proposed condition. And you can see a site map down below, and the preliminary plat is included also.
Adam, on the site map, you've got that pink line, the next map down. Yep, and that pink line, is that a boundary line that goes so
Yes,
close?
so,
And I realize it's all owned by the same family, but,
right, if if you scroll back up, maybe I can just point to the, what's happening here.
Adam, do you want this?
Scroll back up just a little bit. This is that line you're seeing.
yes,
This is what they're doing, it's just moving this line forward 43 feet.
okay,
The reason it has to be platted is because they currently exist in separate plats, and we can't make property boundary adjustments through unplatted or platted or different plats, so it had to go through this formal process to move a property line.
okay. I'll make a motion for approval then.
Okay, we have a motion by Becker. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Nazca. Discussion. If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
All right, David and Jacqueline Hillman request for CUP. A request for a conditional use permit to establish an auto repair or service business on parcel 20,000,9100 in Reynolds Township was received on December 13th. This was reviewed by the Planning Commission during the January 5th public hearing, and the recommendation from the Planning Commission was to grant the CUP with the following conditions. 1, no greater than 10 vehicles may be kept on site at any time for the purpose of the business operation. 2, all vehicles, parts, and other supplies must be stored in a manner that screens them from the public roadway. 3, all automotive fluids and other hazardous waste must be properly stored in an approved storage container, and fluids must be disposed of in a manner that complies with all applicable local, state, and federal regulations. 4, there should be no parking of vehicles within the road right-of-way. 5, there should be no loading or unloading of vehicles within the road right-of-way. 6, existing structure shall be re-permitted as a commercial structure. And 7, that the applicant must abide by all their applicable federal, state, and local standards. That should be to grant the CUP with those proposed conditions, deny the CUP, or remand it back to the Planning Commission for further consideration. Recommendation to adopt the findings of the Planning Commission and grant the CUP with the proposed conditions.
Okay, you've heard the request. Is there a motion, please?
Do you have a map location on this or something? Is there anything on
Yep,
this one here? Can I take a look
maybe
at that
one more
quick?
page.
Yeah.
Yep,
right
it's
there.
on the corner of 11 and
Yeah, it looks-
90, or 80 something.
Right.
Yeah,
Thank you.
86, there you go.
Perfect. Yep.
So they actually use that access off of 11 on the west side for the business, and then their home comes off of 86.
They're kind of screened anyway from the road back
Yep.
in there behind. Yeah.
Yep, there is a line of pine trees. That's one thing we noted in the staff report. You can see the pine trees in the building, and then you can't see it, but there's a new building on that site that they built a couple years ago that they're going to now use for the business. It's well screened. They got plenty of parking space, and if they need more space, they have an opportunity to create that.
Well, I'll motion on this one.
Okay. Motion by Noska. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Becker. Any further discussion? If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oppose? Carried. Thank you.
All right, and lastly, I got the Sean Baker and Brenda Joy Baker request for CUP, request for a conditional use permit to establish temporary family housing on parcel 28008800 in Wycombe Township, was received on December 6th. Planning Commission reviewed the application during the January 5th public hearing, and the final recommendation from the Planning Commission was to grant the CUP with the following conditions. One condition, reissuance of land use permit for the existing structure as a residential structure. And that should be the options would be to grant the CUP with the proposed condition, deny the CUP, or remand it back to the Planning Commission. Recommendation would be to adopt the findings of the Planning Commission and to grant the CUP with the proposed condition.
Okay, you've heard the request. Is there a motion?
So move.
Motion by Becker. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Noska. Discussion. If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Todd County Ag Society. Morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Guys.
Okay, we brought you in here to, you're having an event on the 21st,
Yes, this coming Saturday.
and you needed a couple extra days to prep.
Yes, we were looking at if we could, we've agreed to pay the rent on the Saturday and Sunday, but then it got brought to our attention that the days leading up to the event, when we were getting ready for doing snow removal and stuff, they wanted rent them days also. And we weren't asking the county for any help with removal of any snow or anything. We were gonna take that all on ourselves. And was just hoping that we could get the days leading up, get them rental rates waived for them days.
Okay,
David, how many days are you looking at? When are you
We'd like to
wanting
get
in?
started tomorrow if we could.
Tomorrow already?
Yes,
So Wednesday through,
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, it'd be
Yeah.
3 days worth. Cause we just don't know exactly how long it's gonna take to shovel, we hate to,
yeah, you gotta blow out the grandstand
Yep.
too, all that seating.
You also
is-
Yep.
don't know if it's gonna snow. Who knows? We might get snow again this
Yeah.
week here, and
and then
they're gonna have to do something to take
so
care of it.
we'd like to get a head start on it and not be caught under the gun.
and the rain made it just a big slushy,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
Okay, what's the wishes of the board?
Well, I'll make a motion that we waive the fee for the use beforehand for cleaning out the area. It'd be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, right? And you guys are willing to pay for Saturday and Sunday?
Yeah, we're fine with paying for Saturday and
Okay.
Sunday. There was never no discussion about,
Okay,
I think we've already it's already been paid, so.
okay.
Okay.
Yep, I'll make that as a.
I'll
mo- how
second.
about- Just wait a second, how about afterwards? Sunday, you're gonna be okay at getting out of there and
Oh, yeah,
getting
we'll-
everything done?
Yep,
Okay,
most of it'll be done on Saturday. There'll be a little bit of stuff on
on Sunday,
Sunday.
Mr. Chair, if I may?
yep.
I will need insurance. I never received any insurance copies yet, and it expired on January 5th, our copy that we have in the boardroom.
Okay,
So I will need insurance before the event this weekend.
okay.
And then we wanted to clarify as facilities that they were for sure going to have the grandstands cleared off and de-iced.
Yep,
Talked about that.
yep, we did.
Mhm.
You know, and you guys are taking care of that.
Yep.
Because I guess what brings to mind is that one year that young lady fell down those cement steps going up into the grandstand. I think her teeth went through her lips or something that year, but that was during the fair, so just so you get the steps cleared out
Yep.
and so forth, so,
Well, we did that all last year too,
Yeah.
so.
okay.
I'll second that, yeah.
Okay, so we have a motion by Becker, second by Noska, to waive Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, no,
No.
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Friday.
Okay, and then request proof of insurance. Okay, is that okay with you guys?
Yep.
We're all ready? All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye,
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
thank you. Oh, just wait a second, we're gonna do that cement barriers right next.
That's correct.
We'll
It's
keep it right
behind,
there.
so you might as well, yeah, don't go too far. All right, administration.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The topic I have for today is to discuss tabled board action 2022-1209-34, the cement barriers. The background is a board action and resolution was presented by the Ag Society on December 9th, 2022, requesting to leave cement barriers at the fairgrounds and for Ag Society to retain ownership. This item was tabled with the request to draft a memorandum of understanding related to use of cement barriers. This item has not been reintroduced. There is a request for an update on this tabled item. So this is for discussion.
Okay,
Yeah,
so just to follow up on this, you guys, what's going on?
We haven't really heard much back from anybody yet on what the county's,
Okay,
Chris, do you have?
I do, and along with county attorney, where where this has been left is the county attorney's had some communication back and forth with Gerhard from the Ag Society, and there's been a request to have some insurance documents presented. I believe the insurance documents were presented, but there's some additional clarity that's needed. And there were some items with the MOU where initial items were submitted to be included, and then there was a change. So the county attorney has asked that once the Ag Society has all of that information as they want it, to resubmit that request and to submit it to Facilities Committee for review, and we come back to board.
And the next facility meeting is,
January 26th.
okay.
And John, if you have anything that you wanted to add to that.
Just, I was hoping to get a resolution from the Ag Society Board in writing, outlining exactly what it is they want us to act on.
Okay. And a correction, Mr. Chair, the next facilities, I'm sorry, is January 27th. It's Friday, January 27th.
so that's when you want the resolution typed up and presented at that meeting?
Yes, that was the request.
Yep, and then we'd probably go into the February board meeting, because it has to come back to this meeting then after that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay?
so I think that's all we have, correct, on that issue?
Yeah,
All right, thank
Yep.
you so much.
All right.
yep,
Sounds
thank
good.
you.
Have a good
Thanks.
day. Okay, Chris?
Okay, so I have a board action for the 2023 pay equity compliance. The background is the Local Government Pay Equity Act, Minnesota Statute 471.991-471-999, and Minnesota Rules Chapter 3920 requires political subdivisions to be in compliance with the Local Government Pay Equity Act. The Administration Department has completed the required pay analysis and submitted to the state of Minnesota for preliminary review. Todd County has been found to be in compliance. The final step for obtaining compliance for the state of Minnesota is to obtain county board approval of this report. The options are to approve the 2023 pay equity compliance report or not approve, and the recommendation is to approve.
Okay, you've heard the request. Is there a motion, please?
I'll motion.
Motion by Noska. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Becker. Discussion?
Chris, is this done every year then?
This is actually done every 3 years.
Every 3 years? Okay.
So my question too is, I think every year we have to post the top 5, whatever, has that been done yet?
I
Top three,
believe, I believe that it has been done, but I can double check that after the meeting.
Okay, thank you. All right, motion by Noska, second by Becker. Any further discussion? If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried, thank you.
Thank you. And the last board action that I have is to set a date for the legislative work session. The background is to request to set a date to meet with Senator Paul Utke and Representative Mike Weiner at an upcoming work session. I have checked with both Senator Utke and Representative Mike Weiner. They are available on Fridays at 10 o'clock, and there are a list of dates available: Friday, February 3rd at 10 a.m., Friday, March 3rd at 10 a.m., or Friday, March 17th at 10 a.m., or we can look at future dates.
Okay, for the request, thoughts?
I would like to see it February 3rd before we go down to our legislature
Me too.
conference.
I know I'm not available that day for sure. I'll be out of the country at that time, so.
Okay,
But, yeah, if you guys still wanna hold that day, it's fine. I think I'm available the other dates that were mentioned,
okay.
but either way.
What are you thinking, commissioners?
Yeah.
I'd like to do it the 3rd too,
Okay.
and, you know, the sooner the better.
Right.
We have some other issues that we'd like to address with them, and
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
fine.
And I know Deja down for Soil and Water requested that they be notified when this comes about also. And I think there's a lot of department heads that had questions also.
That's correct.
so let's shoot for the 3rd.
Yeah.
Pray it
And if
works.
for some reason they can't make it any longer, then just, to me, let's try to get them as soon as we can. Choose
Right.
for the next date.
So, Mr. Chair, would it be appropriate for me to say the first option is the February 3rd and the second option would be March 3rd?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. Okay, do we have a motion on that?
I'll make that as a motion, Randy.
Motion by Becker, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Noska. Any further discussion? If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, we're going through there pretty quick.
Yeah.
Standing reports. Auditor Treasurer.
Our office is just prepping for the new year, getting ready. It's hard to say, but tax season's coming and special assessments are coming in, so we're just prepping for that, and then I will be out in February for conference as well, and that's wonderful that you picked the February 3rd, because it's good to visit with them prior to going down there, because we actually do a day at the Capitol when we're down there, so it'll be good to have them prepared for what your wishes are, so.
What's the date of your conference, Denise?
Mine will be the 13th through the 17th,
Okay.
so we're down there right after that, so. And then also just an FYI that the top salaries are online, so those were
Okay.
posted
Okay,
last week.
all right. And then you will be bringing in your new staff member on the 7th.
Right.
Correct, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. County Attorney.
We are implementing a new record-keeping system, and MCAPS online. The conversion is this morning. I hope it goes well. Otherwise, things are going very well in the office.
Great, thank you. Okay, Commissioners report. Commissioner Becker.
Yes, on January 4th, we had a policy meeting, and we're still in discussion with our drug and alcohol policy and wanting to know if there will be changes or how it would affect the county if the state legalizes more of the drug part of it, I should say. Okay. Then on the 9th, we had personnel meeting, and I also had corrections, and most of our corrections meeting was spent discussing the Eagle Bend building. We have still not settled with MCIT for the insurance part of it, so we're still in negotiations or in conversations with MCIT, hoping that that will get settled so we can put up a new building at this year. The other thing is our deadline for building is getting soon too, so I know, Bill Stearns from Wadena County contacted MCIT asking him for if we could have more of a time span to put up that building. And then on the 11th, we had department head meeting. Department heads went through each of their departments. On the 12th, I had soil and water, discussed some of the Long Prairie watershed and some of the monies coming in for that now. And there's a meeting for Long Prairie watershed this Thursday. And then I had Rainbow Rider down Lowry, and that, we're in the process of putting up a new bus garage by Alec. The other concern is the buses that we had ordered are not coming in, and with that, there might be a additional expense to the counties coming up this coming year, so, and they're talking anywhere from 10 to 20,000 additional money coming from within the counties itself. So as we go through budgeting, it's something that we have to keep in mind. And with that, Randy?
Well, I'll follow up on Rainbow Rider, the fact that we had a transmission go out of a bus.
Yeah.
And thank God they did find a transmission. It was a week out, but they found a transmission. It's the motors that we're gonna start having problems with. Finding a used motor is very hard, so we don't know what we're gonna do. Our backs are kinda against the wall, so.
With that, Randy, we have how many buses ordered and got delivered of 2?
Yeah, back to 2020.
Yeah.
So
So
we
the
have.
miles continue to go on these buses.
Yeah, we have like, what, 12, 13 buses ordered, so we don't know when we'll see them. And again, like Commissioner Becker said, the price could be 10 or it could be 20, our allocation, we don't know yet, so. Anyways, Commissioner Noska.
Yeah, on the 5th, I met with the Fair Board, Ag Society, and we basically just discussed the demo derby, the autocross, some of the logistics, and requesting the extra few days to clean some snow removal and setup, with the fees waived, and, you know, food decisions, I guess. It was good deal. It's looks like it should be a good event. Hopefully the weather stays similar to what it is right now. I mean, for people
nice.
attendance, it's gonna be great if it's in the 30s. But we'll see where we get when we get there. Also met with the law library and John on the 11th of January and approved purchasing a scanner and the MOU with Central Minnesota Legal Services to assist self-represented individuals. So that will be available as well. And another one just for myself, I do have an expected absence. I will be unavailable from the 2nd to the 7th of February. I'll still be able to check, I'm sure I'll still be able to check my emails and respond to a few things, but I will not be physically available. So that's about all I have for right now.
All right. And for myself, I will give my January report, the first meeting in February. And with that, we'll go to the coordinator.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On January 4th, I had a Policies Committee meeting. On the 9th was Personnel Committee. The 10th was Wellness Committee. The 11th was a Department Head meeting. The 12th, we had another Personnel Committee meeting and also a Solid Waste Committee meeting. We had an ARPA Solid Waste Committee meeting following that and started talking about the use of those ARPA funds again. So that was good to have those conversations and hopefully bringing something forward countywide for that. On the 12th, I also had a monthly supervisors meeting and the Long Prairie Daycare stakeholders meeting. That group is pretty active in trying to find, trying to set up either a daycare center or a daycare pod model. And we really focused on the daycare pod model, which is a provider-operated daycare, and really using the family daycare model for licensing. So more discussion will continue on that. The legislative conference that we were talking about begins on Tuesday, February 21st, and that's really a pre-conference start. And then the actual conference starts Wednesday, February 22nd and goes to the 23rd. So just a note on that. And that's all I have.
Okay.
If I could, Randy. Chris, are you working through Sourcewell? Because they were doing the licensing for Todd County, correct?
Yes, and we've actually talked about the Sourcewell licensing model. Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anything else that needs to come in front of this board? If not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn for the month of January.
So move.
Motion by Becker. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Noska. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Carried. We're adjourned. Okay, we'll start the Items on the agenda today, and we'll start out with number 1, Personal Board of Appeals candidate interview, and we'll go with Chris on that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For today, we have one individual for the Personnel Board of Appeals. It's Emily Steinert. She has made application for this board, and you should have in front of you the citizen appointment application that Emily provided, and also a list of questions that you may want to ask her, and you can feel free to ask anything outside of those questions as well.
Okay. Good morning, Emily. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Good.
Thank you.
Good. So, you want to start out with the questions, or?
I can
Go
do
ahead.
that, that's
All right.
fine. So the first question is, tell us about your past experience related to management, legal, or human resources profession.
I worked for Todd County for 34 years, I think, or so, and about 27 of those were in management as a social service supervisor, as a health and human service supervisor, and as a interim director for a brief period. So that was basically my job for that period of time, was to interpret and work with personnel, work with the legal department, work with the commissioners. Feels very comfortable to me.
Right. Yep. Okay.
And the next question is, tell us about your experience interpreting policy.
Same. That was my job. We had many DHS rules and county rules and personnel rules, and that is a huge part of the management position that I held.
Okay.
Tell us about your experience resolving grievances.
Oh. Usually, I guess, I try to resolve grievances by discussing it head-on with the person that was in the situation. I dealt with grievances both for clients who weren't happy with what we were doing as an agency, and also for employees who were having difficulties with either policy or relationships internally or those kinds of things. So I had some that were resolved successfully pretty easily, and I had some that were not so easy, and we had to take some serious action for folks, and I was able to manage that and continue to work with them, and I think that went well. It's never ever fun, but I think I have the ability to hear and weigh out what's going on and help them to come to grips with what has to be, or make a decision that it can change. So I guess that's where I'm at.
Okay. The Personnel Board of Appeals needs to make a final decision on a matter within 30 days of the appeal. Can you commit to meeting with the Board of Appeals and coming to a decision within that time frame?
Barring unforeseen circumstances, yes. I don't think there's any reason I couldn't do that. I'm retired. I don't have any huge commitments right now, so unless I'm not planning a month-long vacation or anything like that, so, or I don't winter elsewhere. So I think that would be possible, yep.
Great. Okay. All right. So is there any other questions for Emily? Anybody have any questions? No? Go ahead.
No, I would just recommend that we bring Emily's name to the board at the next meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Anything? Okay. Lou, I just want to thank Emily for applying, and we will be putting this on the February 7th board agenda,
Okay.
and then we'll be contacting you.
Hopefully never, I understand.
Well, never know.
Okay.
Never say never.
Yeah. All right.
So, but thank you for coming in this morning. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
Look forward to hearing from you. Nice to
Thanks,
meet you.
Emily.
Sheriff Allen.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning again. All right, dispatch staffing discussion.
Today we're requesting, as it was a budgeted item, filling the 2 additional full-time dispatchers for our department. There's a number of worksheets and forms that you could look at. I think we've gone through these before in the past, where the previous administration at least has. Currently, we have 1 dispatcher on the majority of the time, and we're requesting to increase that to 2, similar to all neighboring counties and counties our size.
Okay,
You'll just have to let me know what slide you want to be on, or
Yeah, so as you remember, we did bring this last year, and it was asked that we include the 2 full-time positions into our budget for this year, and then bring that discussion back, and so we've done so. Commissioner Newman, Commissioner Becker, these are numbers that you've seen before. This is what we brought last year for supporting documentation for our request. Commissioner Noski, you have not, but the first slide is the comparison between the amount of calls for service that Todd County takes in comparison with our neighboring counties who do have this additional staff continuously. The reason that there's adjusted numbers is for Douglas, Wadena, and Otter Tail, the way that their record-keeping system is done, there's no separation between what dispatch enters and what like office support staff enters for gun permits, civil processes, those types of things. So we did an adjustment of 3/4 of the total numbers out of that for those years. So as you can see, we're very comparable to those other counties that do have that additional staffing. And then at the bottom of the worksheet, I didn't include what that staffing is for those agencies. The second worksheet is by day of week. So we included that. It's 2 pages, it's the numbers, and then it's the actual graphics. Just to demonstrate, there isn't one specific day that's highly outweighing the others. It's fairly consistent as far as the level of what we're doing every day. And then the one immediately following that, this was last year's numbers. It's the same information, but this is just the 2022 numbers. So as you can see, there wasn't much of a change there as far as how busy we are. There's a little fluctuation, but for the most part, it's pretty steady all week. And then the next document that's included was the 2022 by hour. So you can kind of see where the need is. And as we discussed before, currently we're filling some of this need with those part-time positions for the power shift in the afternoon. But generally it's every day about 8 o'clock it starts to ramp up, and then it finally tapers off somewhere around midnight. So that's where we focus the bulk of our coverage to get that double coverage in. And with these 2 full-time positions versus the part-time position, we're able to cover that entire chunk of time consistently.
okay.
And then the final documentation was, because we have 2 separate parts of our system, one is calls for service and one is cases. We wanted to include this because these are cases that are entered by dispatch. So this is in addition to their workload. In addition to the calls for service that they enter, they also have some administrative type entries into that system. I would be happy to answer any questions you have in support of making this adjustment to
Okay.
the full-time.
Commissioners, questions?
So currently you have a part-time position filling this full-time gap that
Correct,
you're looking
correct.
to?
So our current staffing is 4 full-time dispatchers, so we always have 1 on at a time.
Yeah,
And then we're filling that afternoon gap with part-timers. Currently we have 4 part-timers on the roster. We have one that's going to retire next month, or in March. So we're going to be down. And then we have 2 others that have full-time jobs elsewhere, so their availability is limited.
Is it looking at one of those part-times becoming full-time?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah,
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and so the amount of money that we were paying part-time salaries to have that coverage, we transitioned part of that fund into the full-time budget for this year. So it was budgeted for the addition of 2 full-time.
And how many hours is that part-time position covering now? I mean, is it almost a full-time position as it is?
Oh,
Or it is?
and then some.
Yeah, I think I read
amount
that.
of,
You're
yes, the amount of hours per week
right.
exceeds the full-time. With the addition of 2, we're able to extend that coverage just a little bit more, where we can move it up into the morning just a little bit more. Because right now, if I'm not there, that dispatcher's on by themselves until 2 o'clock when that comes in. With this and with the scheduling options that we have, we can have them start just a little bit earlier, so that daytime dispatcher does get that assistance a little sooner in the day.
Thank you.
I guess I'm confused. You talking 1 full-time, or you talking 2
The request is for 2.
for 2? So you're really
would bring our-
adding,
Full-time staff up to 6,
and you're at 4 now.
correct.
Part of the issue that we're seeing, Commissioner Becker, is, for example, this week, we had a 911 call, and that dispatcher had to assist with giving CPR over the phone, and so her time is used up.
Right.
And so with an additional dispatcher on for the majority of the heavy call volume, we could eliminate any big mistakes. So what would happen is we'd have a day dispatcher, a night dispatcher, and then for lack of a better term, a power shift in the middle over our higher volume times.
Plus Sarah's on, right? When you're talking the 1 full-time one, you're talking a full-time one plus Sarah, plus you want another one over the heavy hours? Am I reading you correctly?
Well, Sarah has her administrative responsibilities.
Yeah.
Right now, we're looking for a morning dispatcher, an evening dispatcher, and someone to fill the high time in the middle, for essentially 2 different shift rotations.
Okay.
And so having that coverage makes it not reliant on myself. If I have administrative things to do, or meetings, or those types of things, then that doesn't affect the dispatch staffing, then they're not short-staffed because I'm trying to do the other aspects of my
Okay,
work.
and then you would do away with all 4 part-timers?
Well, we would have part-timers to help fill in when vacation is required, or people are on calling
Okay.
sick, but that part-time staff would be used for those purposes instead of filling what we're using as a power shift now.
And there would be a short, probably right around 20 or less hours a week, where they would fill in some of those hours that these 6 full-timers does help fill most of the gaps, but there's still a couple little gaps that would still be needed. So we wouldn't be able to completely eliminate the part-time, but it would reduce the part-time considerably.
Yeah.
But you would like to keep that pool at 4, correct?
If possible.
Part-time?
Yes, we would like to, as most of us know, that finding available part-timers now is pretty difficult, but if we could keep that pool at 4,
Right.
our issue is we're finding it difficult to hire a part-timer with no other responsibilities, no other jobs, and so we're utilizing staff that have other full-time jobs. They just come in and help out when they're available, and that availability is pretty slim.
Okay.
I'm trying to think when we did our tour down there, because you got all new equipment and all different arrangements down there, which is really nice.
Yes, it is. It's a
Yes.
wonderful situation we've got down there now.
Right, but like the sheriff said, though, if you have a dispatch calling in and she's trying to give somebody instructions on CPR are over the phone, that gives, there's nobody answering the damn phone.
That's correct. That is exactly what we're looking
Somebody
at.
else could have another emergency, and the phone's not getting answered.
Correct. And Sarah's been helping out. For example, she'll be leaving after today and she'll be coming back tonight to fill a shift. She'll still be available. She'll still be used as a fill-in when needed. Hopefully, it won't be needed as much.
Right.
So on the average, you have 2 dispatchers on
Current,
plus Sarah, or do you have 1 full-time Sarah and 1 you can call in?
so
I guess
current-
that's what my
yeah,
question
so-
is.
So currently, the way that our schedule is set up, there's 1 dispatcher on,
Okay.
during the day.
Okay,
I'm there during the day as kind
Okay,
of the
so-
backup, and then at 2 o'clock, the power shift dispatcher comes in. That's several years ago when we made that request to help cover that time. So then after 2 o'clock, then there's 2 dispatchers on until about 10 o'clock, and then it goes back to 1.
okay. So there'd be actually 3 of you there,
During-
counting yourself.
During the day when I'm
Yep,
there for.
and until you leave at, what, 4?
4:35.
Okay.
Depends
And then-
on when that is.
Yep, and so then you would need the second one to come on at 4, so that you would have still
Yes.
2 on.
Correct.
Yeah, you can see where this gets to be kind of a scheduling nightmare.
Yeah, and so we looked at some scheduling options, and so, we have one that we think is gonna work, that's gonna provide us the most coverage.
Okay.
You know, ideally, we would love to have 2 people on all of the time. We understand that there's some limitations to that. So this is a good interim step to moving towards that. You know, for those reasons, because if they are tied up on a serious call, or, even one where they're not necessarily on the phone, but if we have a major vehicle accident or something where they're having to call a helicopter and they're having to call the other ambulance services and they're having to do those things, it ties up a significant portion of their time, and nothing stops for just that emergency, you know, so there's
Yep.
other additional things, and we wanna make sure that we're providing the citizens as much coverage as we can.
Just out of curiosity, you have 2 cars out most of the time, or more than 2 units out?
Well, the minimum we'll have is 2, unless there's something that happens. Oftentimes, we'll have 4 squads out for the county, and then 1 for Osakas has a car out. Long Prairie has 1 or 2 cars out, and then Staples has 1 or 2, depending on the day of the week. So dispatch is handling, if it was just Todd County's issue, it would be no problem with the lack of staffing. We've got on times 5 or 6 other squads, including, and that's not including ambulance, fire, and rescue calls that are coming in at the
That's what
same
my
time.
next question was going to be. A follow-up question is, how many of them actually go to squad cars, or how many of them are actually calls that are handled within the office? You know, like your
Yeah, so the-
CPR call, or your,
And a lot of
missing
times
person, or,
The number of phone calls, doesn't necessarily go out. Some of you may remember, so several years ago, we went to the automated answering system for our office for the main number. And that actually cut our calls, administrative calls to dispatch by about 1/3. So
okay.
if we were not to have that option, our numbers would be significantly more. But a lot of times, especially during the day, it's requests for, can someone call us back? Can someone, those types of things. Usually in the evening, if they're calling for, either a police response, a fire response, or a medical response.
Any other discussion?
Mr. Chair, if I could just
Questions?
add that there were many discussions with personnel and through finance with these additional dispatchers, so they've gone through the process of having those discussions early last year. So
Which is interesting, because, not being a chair or a vice chair, you miss all those discussions, or a lot of those discussions that you've had prior, so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and as we said, last year the request was for us to include it into our budget for
Right.
2023, and we've done so. So now we're just coming back with a request to formalize
Okay.
that.
Well, thank you.
Any other discussion? We will bring this, I'm assuming, forward on February 7th, correct?
that is correct.
All right.
Perfect. All right, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you so much.
You too.
MIS.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just some discussion this morning regarding the MIS director position and a little bit of history on the MIS director position. When I became the Todd County coordinator in December of 2019, the coordinator position allows for to cover over any department in the absence of a department head. So that role of MIS director was included within that coordinator position. So since 2019, I've had the role of coordinator along with MIS director. But in early 2020, in January of 2020, the board allowed to have an MIS supervisor position created, which was really helpful, and that allowed the MIS supervisor to take on those day-to-day supervising tasks. They worked very closely with me. Lisa Partika has worked very closely with me. We have weekly meetings, and we do review of things as needed. But over the course of the last 3 years, there's been a lot of mentoring that has taken place. Lisa has, of course, learned the budget. She's learned leadership roles. She's had some leadership trainings, and we continue those weekly meetings. We've had discussion with personnel and with finance on making a change, moving back to that MIS director role and eliminating the MIS supervisor role. We've talked about it at personnel. We've also made that part of the budget, excuse me, for 2023. And the change to the budget would be an impact of approximately $3,300, so $3,300 in that change. We've also had the job description reevaluated through Baker Tilly, and that was a recent thing that we've had done. And we did that because the emergency management director was also under MIS, and that change to put it under the sheriff's office took place in September of 2020. So we did a refresh of that job description to reflect that. GIS is within MIS, but that would remain under the coordinator until we find a better fit. So taking the emergency management duties and the GIS duties outside of MIS made that job description revision a grade 15 versus a grade 16. So we've gone through all those steps. We've done the personnel, the finance, and the review of the job description. I think at this time it would be appropriate, and we are hoping to come before the board at the next board meeting to make that change of moving back to MIS, having an MIS director versus coordinator. That would allow me to continue with my coordinator duties, and it would allow the leadership to continue within MIS. We would follow through personnel policy with doing interviews, and because that is a department head role, that would be full board interview.
Okay. Any questions for Chris?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Is there anything else we need to discuss? If not, we're done for the day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Chris, would you like these returned?
If I could have all of those.
Yeah, you can have 'em.
John, if you step down and see Jolene, she needs a
Just
signature.
that is all you need?
Right. I'll do
Okay.
that right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.